Shalom Uvracha, Yerushalayim. We are privileged this evening to study together the weekly section of Parashat Tazria. As you may already know, a major section of our parasha deals with the status of the Mitzorah, the leper, who was stricken with a certain type of special skin disease, commonly translated as leprosy, but which was categorically different than the leprosy spoken of in modern medical writings. In biblical times, this tzara'at leprosy was diagnosed only by the Kohen priest. Over and over again in our Torah section, we read of the centrality of the role of the Kohanim in categorizing the leper as being in a state of ritual purity or in a state of ritual impurity. It's the Kohen. It's the Kohen priest who officially pronounces whether the suspected Mitzorah leper can or cannot remain within the camp of Israel. It is the Kohen priest who determines whether the suspected Mitzorah leper has to wait another suspended week for further examination and analysis, all throughout the parasha. Our parasha Tazria, as well as next week's parasha Mitzorah, the Kohen is referred to over and over and over again. For instance, see the 13th chapter. Look at Leviticus 13:2, describing the disease of the tzarat, the makah, the nega of tzarat. V'huva el Aharon HaKohen. The person should be brought to Aharon HaKohen, to Aaron the priest, or el Achad mibanav HaKohanim, or to one of the descendants of Aharon. Or 13:9, nega tzarat ki tihiyeh be'adam. If there will be a plague, if there will be a person who will be stricken with this tzarat leprosy, v'huva el HaKohen, he has to be brought to the Kohen. Why the Kohen? Why is this a function of the Kohen? And why does the Torah keep emphasizing Kohen, Kohen, Kohen? Why is he the key figure in the life of the Mitzorah leper? Rashi writes in our parsha, Gizerat HaKatuvi. This is the stated will of the law of the text. Gizerat HaKatuv. She'ein tumat nigaim v'taharatan ela al pi kohen. That all of the matters of ritual purity and impurity of the Mitzorah leper must be done only through a kohen. Gzerat HaKatuv. Sometimes Gzerat HaKatuv means it's even beyond explanation. Gzerat HaKatuv. Rambam, Maimonides, in a similar fashion, codifies in his monumental work, Yad HaChazakah, Hilchot Tumat Tzarat, Perek Tet Halacha Bet, when he speaks about the laws of the Mitzorah leper, he writes, Af al pi shehakol kasherim lirot nigaim. Many people can study the nigaim. Many people can decide questions of nigaim. But the official pronouncement of Tum'ah v'Tahara is only in the mouth of the Kohen. HaTum'ah v'Tahara tuluya b'Kohen. It must be the Kohen who makes the pronouncement. The Rambam then quotes a verse from Deuteronomy 21:5, Shenemar, Al pihem yehiyeh kol riv v'chol naga. Al pihem, based on the pronouncements, based on the words of the Kohanim, all questions of nega, all questions of nigaim, all questions of these tzarat leprosy shall be determined. The mouth of the Kohen, al pihem, the mouth of the Kohen. It is only the Kohanim who are empowered to make these official proclamations. But why? Why is it the Kohen? It would seem that since, according to many rabbinic traditions, many people studying Parshat Tazria in so many different places, mentioned it this particular week when they studied Tazria, there's an ancient tradition that Tzara'at is somehow connected to Lashon Hara. According to many rabbinic traditions, very often, the spiritual cause for the biblical Tzara'at leprosy is the sin of improper, slanderous speech, Lashon Hara. It was the Kohen priest who would be the best contact for the Metzorah leper. If Lashon Hara indeed was the root of the problem, the Kohen, whose spiritual specialty was loving speech, he spoke with caring speech, with sensitive speech. It was the Kohen who should and would become the spiritual guide of the Metzorah leper. In the language of the author of the commentary Kli Yakar in our parasha, Ki chet halashon gorem kol riv v'chol naga. It's the sin of speech that caused this entire problem to happen. Yavo Aharon. Therefore, let it be specifically Aaron the priest. Shachaz b'midat hashalom. Havei mitamidav shel Aharon. Ohev shalom, rodev shalom. Ohev et haberiyot, v'karval haTorah. It's Aharon who excels in shalom. The person who's stricken with leprosy, according to this tradition, is suffering from certain problems, which are the opposite of that. Therefore, Yavo Aharon, says the Kli Yakar. Yavo Aharon. Shachaz b'midat hashalom v'yirapei lazeh ki hu haya ohev shalom v'rodev shalom. Aharon specifically, the Kohen, he will be the one to deal with the Metzorah. The Kohanim excelled in loving words. Aharon was always bringing peace between bickering husbands and wives. Aharon was the ultimate peacemaker. Aharon was the one, the Kohanim, between warring factions, fights and disagreements between acquaintances. The purity of the speech of the Kohen was necessary for the spiritual rehabilitation program of the biblical Metzorah leper, who had lost the true vision of purity of speech. Malachi, the prophet Malachi, speaks in chapter 2 of the blessed lips of the Kohen. Ki siftei Kohen yishmeru dat. The words, the speech, the pronouncement, the special level of the siftei Kohen. He says there, B'shalom u'v'mishar halachiti. Because they're from the tribe of Levi, the Kohanim. B'shalom u'v'mishar had a certain sensitivity to shalom. A special sensitivity to a peace-loving existence. That's the essence of the kahuna. The person speaking in a derogatory fashion, God forbid, about others, has not internalized the spiritual value system of the Kohanim. Fuhuval HaKohen! The slanderer causes rifts and fights, while the Kohen bridges the gaps towards shalom and peace. The one engaged in Lashon Hara often forgets the great levels of other people. He or she focuses on the sinfulness of the other, while the Kohanim are ever so busy with karbanot sacrifices, in recognizing and encouraging pathways of repentance, even for the worst of sinners. The world of the Metzorah leper, who was often guilty of belittling, minimizing, and maybe even cursing others, must merge with the world of the Kohanim priests, who are forever involved in blessing everyone. The Kohanim recite the following blessing: Asher kiddishanu b'kedushato shel Aharon. God gave us a certain level of special sanctification V'tzivanu levarech et amo Yisrael b'ahava. With love. They bless. They use their mouth. The opposite of the person who is suffering from the tzara. Not only do Kohanim priests bless, Tzivanu levarech et amo Yisrael, kol tevarachu et bnei Yisrael. They bless with love. B'ahava. Aharon HaKohen, the Kohanim, teach the Metzora leper all about loving people. How do you love people? How do you speak? How do you bless people? All about using speech to bless others and to encourage others. And it is specifically the Kohanim who are charged with the task of dealing with the spiritual lacks of the Metzora leper. Aharon, who was never guilty of jealousy feelings of others. You know, one of the most pronounced stories in that area is when his younger brother becomes the leader of the Jewish people. And the Torah records, V'ra'acha v'samach b'libo. Aaron celebrated the appointment of his younger brother to become the Jewish leader. So such a person is the one who is most appropriate to teach those people who, as a result of jealousy of others, why do people speak in a derogatory form? Why do people speak Lashon Hara? Very often it's motivated because they're jealous of something that somebody else has, or and they don't know how to get back at them, so they start pointing out all their faults. The world leader, the expert in teaching us how to be happy, even at a younger brother's accomplishment, the Kohen, the Kohanim, it is he who teaches those who, as a result of jealousy of others, badmouth other people. For the Kohen will enlighten them. Not only in dealing with the symptoms of tzarat, leprosy, but with dealing with the real issues involved in the discussions of our parsha. Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, thank you.
Misha Beracha V'Oteinu Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov. Moshe Aaron David Shlomo. Yimoteinu Sarah Rivka Rachel Leah Yivarech V'Yapeh. Chazek V'Yantzor V'Yishmar. Et
Nachman Nachum
Yirmiyahu ben Priva Nachama V'et
Nachman Nachum ben
Nachman ben Esther.
ציפורה בת גיטל טובה.
ציפורה בת גיטל טובה.
ואסתר חיה בת ציפורה.
ואסתר חיה בת ציפורה ואת